The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privileges of the floor will kindly retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will please rise and be led in prayer by the Reverend Nathan Smith, Heritage Baptist Church, Lynchburg. Reverend Smith, welcome. Yes.
Let's pray. Gracious and heavenly just Father, on a beautiful day such as this, we're reminded that truly the heavens do declare your glory and the skies proclaim your handiwork. When we think about the heavens, they are your throne, the earth is your footstool. Your majesty is unsearchable, and there is no one beside you. There is no one holy like you. When we look at the heavens and we consider their majesty, what is man that you consider him, that you think of him? Indeed, all men bear the fingerprints of your creative genius and the honor of your image, and we are valuable in your sight, regardless of skin color, ethnicity, or heritage. We hold fast to the belief, indeed, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No, Father, I pray this morning that you would give these men and women who've been endowed with awesome responsibility the wisdom, the grace, and the insight to govern our great commonwealth. Give them mercy and strength and unity of heart and mind to be led according to what you would have them do. I pray for our nation, O God. We ask that you bring about a sweeping grace that brings a healing to the brokenness, the racial divides that have ravaged us, and the hatred and division that has inflamed so many sections of our country. But we know that you are good, O God. Our hope is in you. We cry out to you to open the reservoirs of your grace and pour them out on your land. And would you bless this day and this session? Would you bring much fruit and profit so that this state might be helmed well? By your great mercy, I beseech you, O God. Amen.
Amen. The clerk will please call the roll. All those present will vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Wednesday, February 15, 2017.
The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will please report any communications from the House of Delegates. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The reading of the communications is waived. The clerk will please report any communications from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the communication from the governor.
We just need a motion for privileges of the floor, Senator.
Okay.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of two motions, sir.
Senator Hayes.
First, I would move that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the privileges of the floor be extended to a former distinguished congressman.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the privileges of the floor granted to a distinguished person? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have any senators, all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The rules are suspended. The privileges of the floor are granted. The senator from James City County.
Mr. President, while it perhaps is a little out of sequence, I would appreciate it if you would extend a very warm welcome to former Congressman James Moran, who has had a long and distinguished career as one of the senior members of Virginia's congressional delegation and literally gave us decades of service in Congress, and we are indeed very privileged to have him join with us today, sir.
Thank you, Senator. Congressman, thanks for being with us this afternoon, and thanks for your service to this country and to the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I know you're here today on some business as the chairman of the Fort Monroe Authority, and we certainly appreciate all of your efforts in that regard. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Congressman Jim Moran the warm welcome of the Senate. Thank you. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise again and respectfully request that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the privileges of the floor be extended to certain distinguished persons.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the privileges of the floor granted to a distinguished person? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The rules are suspended. The privileges of the floor are granted to our distinguished persons. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is one of those moments of solemnity that periodically we share on the floor of the Senate. I am confident that each and every member of the Senate over the last year has followed with varied emotions and reactions to how our public safety and law enforcement officials have gone through a very challenging year on many levels in many jurisdictions across this country. Unfortunately, there are those in their line of duty that are providing for our safety and our security that make the ultimate sacrifice in their line of duty, and this morning we are in fact recognizing one of those individuals. Today we are recognizing Trooper Dormeyer. Chad had a very interesting history before he joined the Virginia State Police. He, in fact, had served in the United States Marines as a machine gunner for 4 years. I was a member of the Marine Corps Platoon 2074. And following his tenure with the Marine Corps, he entered into the public service career. He relocated to the Commonwealth of Virginia and joined the Newport News Police Department. And as I have previously said, I had the opportunity to know and to have cases with Trooper Dormeyer while he was in that particular area, and I can say that he always prevailed, and I always finished in a close second with the cases that he handled. But he was, I know from not reading things, but from personal experience, he was an extraordinary young trooper. He upheld the highest ideals of a public safety officer in the Commonwealth of Virginia. After he left Newport News, he went on to graduate in the Virginia State Police Academy as a member of the 122nd Basic Session in November of 2014. Upon graduation, he was assigned to Area 46, which is the Chesapeake Division, which he came back to the Newport News and Hampton area, where once again I had the opportunity to be engaged with him professionally. In 2016, Trooper Dormeyer was selected for the Counterterrorism and Criminal Interdiction Unit for Area 61 team. I am confident that all of you know from media accounts that on March the 31st of 2016, it was a very dark day in the history of the Virginia State Police, but more so, it was a tragic and unforgettable day for the Dormeyer family. The specialized training was taking place on criminal interdiction at the Richmond Greyhound bus station with his fellow officers. As part of that training, he approached a suspicious person in the bus station. When Trooper Dormeyer began to speak with him, the man pulled a gun and he shot Trooper Dormeyer multiple times on that. He was evacuated to Virginia Commonwealth Medical Center, where he was pronounced that he had passed. He was a consummate professional. He loved his job. He loved the fact that he was defending and taking care of the citizens of Virginia. And probably the only thing that he loved more than his job was, in fact, his family. He was a loving and devoted husband, father, son, and brother who left us far too soon. He will forever be missed by his wife, Michelle, who is with me today. Her children, Paige and Philip, are also with us, along with Michelle's best friend, Laura Polk. We also have First Sergeant Cliff Kincaid, Sergeant Mason Edwards, Sergeant Lee Scholar, and former State Police Superintendent, who is well known to all of us, Wayne Huggins. In the gallery, we have a number of Trooper Durmire's colleagues who are here paying tribute to their fallen comrades: Special Agent Jerry Miller, Trooper Logan Saunders, Trooper Jamel Johnson, Trooper Brian Treacle, Lieutenant Colonel Settle, Major Tim Lyon, and the photographer who's on the floor, Dorothy Bernstein. After session, as a result of the assistance and support from the transportation committees, Senate Bill 855 has been passed, and a State Route 143 bridge in the city of Newport News at exit 255 on Interstate 64 will be officially dedicated as Trooper Chad Philip Durmire Memorial Bridge. With those introductory comments, Mr. President, I'd respectfully ask the Clerk of the Senate if she would be so kind to read the Senate Resolution number 369 in tribute celebrating the life of Trooper Chad Philip Durmire.
Thank you, Senator. Madam Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolution number 369, celebrating the life of Trooper Chad Philip Durmire. Whereas Trooper Chad Philip Durmire, a dedicated and highly respected law enforcement officer with the Virginia State Police, was killed in the line of duty on March 31, 2016. And whereas a native of Jackson, Michigan, Trooper Durmire proudly served the nation as a decorated member of the United States Marine Corps for 4 years, then began his law enforcement career with the Jackson Police Department. And whereas Trooper Durmire relocated to the Commonwealth and joined the Newport News Police Department, then graduated from the Virginia State Police Academy as a member of the 122nd Basic Session on November 21, 2014. Upon graduating, he was assigned to Area 46 in the Chesapeake Division to patrol the cities of Hampton and Newport News. And whereas in 2016, Trooper Durmire was selected for the Counterterrorism and Criminal Interdiction Unit Area 61 team, and whereas while taking part in a training exercise at the Richmond Bus Terminal with his fellow CCI officers, Trooper Durmire approached a suspicious male subject who subsequently shot and killed Trooper Durmire. And whereas Trooper Durmire was a man of great character and integrity who demonstrated tremendous commitment to serving and protecting the residents and visitors to the Commonwealth of Virginia in his capacity as one of Virginia's finest, and whereas a resident of Gloucester County, Trooper Durmire was known by many within the community for his valiant, selfless actions and his determination to make a difference in the lives of others both on and off duty. And whereas Trooper Durmire will be fondly remembered and forever missed by his wife, Michelle, his children, Paige and Philip, his mother, Ann Barnett, and her husband, Scott, his father, John, and his wife, Chris, and by his siblings, grandparents, numerous other family members, friends, and fellow public safety officers nationwide, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate, the House of Delegates concurring, that the General Assembly hereby note with great sadness the loss of Trooper Chad Philip Durmire, a revered public safety professional, and be it resolved further that the Clerk of the Senate prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to the family of Trooper Chad Philip Durmire as an expression of the General Assembly's respect for his memory and years of service to the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, the senator from James City.
Mr. President, I was remiss that I also had invited Delegate Keith Hodges, who represents the Gloucester area where the Durmeyers were resident at the time of his death. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. While the Durmeyer family and guests are escorted to the clerk's desk, I would ask the Senate to please join me in offering them the warm welcome of the Senate. Ms. Durmeyer and Paige and Philip, thank you for being with us this afternoon. And on behalf of the Senate, we are all tremendously respectful of our law enforcement agencies and especially our state police, what they do for this Commonwealth to keep our streets and our communities safe. And we appreciate that. And we thank your husband, Chad, for his service, not only to Virginia, but to our country. And we are sorry for your loss. I just want you to know that I hope that your fond memories of Chad will help you through these difficult times. And to Paige and Philip, thank you for sharing some time with us. And I know you must have been very proud of your father. And the thing that would make him proudest of you all is to continue to do well in school and then to be able to help others, just like he helped the Commonwealth of Virginia. So thank you all so much for sharing some time with us. Again, I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering the Durmeyer family the warm welcome of our Senate. Thank you. Senate will please stand at ease. The Senate will come to order. The Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I'd like to stand for an introduction.
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Senator from Lynchburg and I'd like to introduce to you our pastor today who gave our prayer, the Reverend Nathan Smith. Reverend Smith is from Heritage Baptist Church in Lynchburg, and he's accompanied today in the gallery by his wife, Jessica. Also, he has 3 children, Camden, who is 8, Lydia, who is 5, and also Jason, who is 4. And I would hope that you, Mr. President, would give them the warm welcome to the Senate.
I will. Thank you, Senator. Would Reverend Smith and his wife, Jessica, and your children, Caden, Lydia, and Jason, please rise? What a beautiful family you have, and thank you all so much for being here. Thanks for making the trip from Lynchburg and getting us off to a good start during today's session. And we hope you have a wonderful stay here and safe travels back to Lynchburg. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Reverend Smith and his family the warm welcome of the Senate. The Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for 2 introductions.
The Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the Senate were joined today by a group from Christopher Newport University and their social work program. Their professor, Dr. Diane Griffiths, has brought them to Richmond and they were very interested in the Senator from Franklin County school expulsion bill, well aware of the work we'd done in the Senate and the other body's effort, and had some ideas for conference. So bright young group, Mr. President. I hope you'll give them the warm welcome to the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Would members from Christopher Newport University please rise? Thank you all for making the trip to Richmond today from Newport News, and thanks for all the great work that you're doing in the area of social work. And what a great university you have. President Tribble has really done a wonderful job there, and you have much to be proud of. So we thank you for being here today, and we wish you the best in your educational endeavors. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering members from Christopher Newport University the warm welcome of the Senate. The Senator from Williamsburg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the Senate, I'm always remiss at including the Senator from Hampton and the Senator from James City County in joining me. I'm certain that they have a piece of part of Christopher Newport and some of my next guests. One of my enjoyable days of the year, Mr. President, is when the winners of our district-wide art contest join us. We had several families. They've moved on, I believe, to enjoy the tour of the Capitol, but we do still have one family, I believe it's Madison Hensbrough and her family, who are professors from VIMS. And so, if Mr. President, if you'd give the winners of our art contest, these bright young students, the welcome of the Senate.
I will. Thank you, Senator. Would Madison and your family please rise? Madison, thanks for being here, and congratulations. And to your parents, thanks for all the great work that you do at VIMS. It's just a wonderful part of William and Mary, and we appreciate the good work that you're doing. And congratulations. I know you all are proud of your daughter. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Madison and her family the warm welcome of the Senate. The senior senator from Richmond, Senator Sturdivant.
Mr. President, I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, on behalf of Senator Dance, Senator Donovan, and Senator McClellan, I want to extend a warm welcome of the Senate to representatives of Family Lifeline who are visiting us today in the Senate gallery. On January 31st, Mr. President, we passed a resolution commending Family Lifeline for their service to the Commonwealth and to the Richmond area. Family Lifeline is celebrating their 140th year as a nonprofit in Richmond, working to enhance the quality of life of local residents by providing food, shelter, clothing, hope, and support. Family Lifeline was established as city mission in 1877 to aid in rebuilding from the devastation of the Civil War, and they continue to this day providing intensive in-home early childhood support to hundreds of families in Chesterfield, Dinwiddie, Henrico, and Richmond and Petersburg. Mr. President, I hope we would offer the members of Family Lifeline the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Would members from Family Lifeline please rise? Thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and thanks for all the work that you do, especially with the home visits and helping these families get off to a great start. So we really appreciate that, and it's so important in Virginia. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering members from Family Lifeline the warm welcome of the Senate. The Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for the purposes of introduction.
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, in the gallery today we have Dr. Louis Mannarin and his wife Joanne. And Mr. President, you might recognize them from the book that's been placed on your desk, The Officers of the Senate of Virginia from 1776 to 2016. Mr. President, Dr. Mannarin has written that book, and Madam Clerk and her great staff have published the book. And Mr. President, it was such a great read that the National Center for State Legislatures gave it the Legislative Research Librarians Award in 2016. Mr. President, we wanted to make sure that everybody had a copy of the book with them, but if you would like to have it autographed, Dr. Mannarin will be here from today on the 3rd floor, autographing books from 2 to 4. And Mr. President, if you would like to have additional copies for your libraries at home and in your other office, you can purchase them there as well. With that, Mr. President, we would ask that you have the Senate give Dr. Mannarin and his right-hand copy editor, Joanne Mannarin, the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Would Dr. and Mrs. Louis Mannarin please rise? Thank you all so much for being with us today, number one, and thanks for all the effort and the great work that you've done on producing this book and your generosity. We appreciate you sharing it with us, and we'll look forward to reading it, and hopefully we can get our books autographed by you as well. So thank you very much for being with us today. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Dr. and Mrs. Louis Mannarin the warm welcome of the Senate. The Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of an introduction.
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, earlier this morning in recognition of, in tribute to Officer Dermeyer, they made some comments about public service and how many are called upon to defend this nation and its citizens in times of challenges. In the gallery this morning, we have a number of cadets from the Virginia Military Institute, many of whom are, while embarking on an academic career, are also beginning their journey in the armed forces of the United States to defend not just the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia, but also the citizens of the United States of America. And Mr. President, you and I both know, having spent some quality years in Lexington at Virginia Military Institute, that over the Jackson Arch there remains the infamous motto that you may be whatever you resolve to be. And these outstanding young women and young men are pursuing that which they resolve to be, and are a credit not just to VMI but to their family and to the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I would appreciate it if you would extend a very warm welcome to the cadets from the Virginia Military Institute.
I will. Thank you, Senator. Would the men and women from Virginia Military Institute please rise? Thank you all so much for visiting us today, and it was great to be able to spend a little bit of time with you all earlier in the day. And it's so important to get around and tell the VMI story to our senators and delegates. It's a very important part of Virginia's process of education, working toward economic development, and also a tremendous amount of history in Virginia. And I would like to thank you all personally, and I don't know if General P is with you presently, but I've heard so many comments on the performance that you all gave in the inauguration that just made Virginia proud. Just your lines were straight and everybody was looking good, and we're very proud of VMI in the Commonwealth, and we appreciate you making us proud, and we certainly wish you the best in your academic endeavors, and for those that you are going on to serve, we wish you the best and safeness as well. So I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering the men and women from the Virginia Military Institute the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the gallery today, we have 3 interns and legislative aide from my office, and they wrote this part. And they have worked with curiosity and eagerness this session in my office. First, we have Ms. Alexis Briggs, a senior psychology and African American studies major from Virginia Commonwealth University. She is active on campus as the vice president of the Black Psychology Student Association, and she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She's excited to spend her last semester here as a volunteer intern in my office. Secondly, we have Mr. Miles Gordon, a political science graduate from Hampton University. He's also a former strong safety of the Hampton University Pirates football team. He was also on the losing basketball team for the Senate. He has been a member of the Locke team for 2 sessions now, and he was a recipient of the Governor's Fellowship last summer. Next, we have Ms. Valerie Spina, who's a junior pursuing her bachelor's degree in political science from Virginia Commonwealth University. She has been on the dean's list every semester and is a Virginia native from Vienna. She hopes to pursue a career in public service in the future. And finally, we have Mr. Benjamin Lambert, who's a sophomore pursuing his bachelor's degree in government at the College of William & Mary. He's from Newport News, where he served as student representative on the school board during his time in high school. He was inspired to embark on the calling of public service by his longtime mentor, the late Senator John Miller. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to these wonderful people who've served my office this session.
Thank you, Senator. Would Alexis, Miles, Valerie, and Ben please rise? We've got 2 of you, right? So thank you. Thank you very much for being part of Senator Locke's team. And as I've told folks before, we couldn't do this by ourselves, and we appreciate your help. And we appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon in the gallery. So we wish you all the best. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Senator Locke's team the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
I'd like to introduce 2 of my constituents today, one of my youngest. And we have Hadley and her father, Kendall Mannion, that are here. Hadley and her father visited the Capitol last summer and took a tour and came to the gallery and found that we were not here. She was gravely disappointed and asked her father to bring her back when we were in session so she could see us at work, so we all better do well today. So I hope you will welcome them to the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Would Kendall and Hadley Mannion please rise? Well, good afternoon, and it's so wonderful to have you here. What a beautiful young lady you are, and we're so glad that you could come visit us today, and we hope you have an enjoyable stay here in Richmond, and thank you for coming to say hi to Senator Donovan today. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Kendall and Hadley Mannion the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would like to have you turn your attention in the gallery to a number of people who are here. They are the 6th class of Valley Proteins Fellows, along with the 3rd class of Potomac Health Foundation's Fellows. These are prestigious scholarship programs for high-achieving second-year students at Virginia's community colleges. And the members of this group come from all across the Commonwealth of Virginia. They participate in a unique curriculum designed to hone their leadership skills, strengthen community involvement, and develop strong foundation for future successes. We had a wonderful meeting this morning, and they are a very impressive group. With gratitude to Valley Proteins, which is a wonderful business in my district, a family-owned company based in Winchester, for their commitment and generosity to these students and to Virginia's colleges for sponsoring this program. In the gallery today, we have Kristen Bailey, Cody Billups, Katie Boggs, Giovanni Chavaria, Angela Graves, Todd Hill, Grayson Katzenbach, Megan Perdue, Matthew Wilson, Aya Abdo, Brent McDonald, Ohima Ofori Ade. And then also from Virginia's community colleges, we have Ann McCaffrey, who is here with her son, Thomas McCaffrey, who's a sixth grader. He's 11. And then also Kristen Johnson is here from our community colleges. So with that long list, I would ask that you and the members of the Senate please extend to them the very, very warm welcome of the Senate.
I will. Thank you, Senator. Would members from the Valley Proteins Fellows and the Potomac High School Fellows please rise? Thank you all so much, two great groups. Thank you all so much for being with us today. And as the good senator from Falk here said, congratulations on all of your accomplishments. And we certainly wish you best in your academic endeavors. And we hope you have a wonderful stay this afternoon in Mr. Jefferson's Capitol. And thanks very much for visiting us. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering members from the Valley Proteins Fellows and the Potomac High School Fellows the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben. The senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Today we are joined by a longtime friend of the Senate, Mr. Jack Vogel, who is the son, one of the children of my seatmate, the gentle lady from Fauquier County. Jack Vogel is at Hill School. He's 11 years old. He's in the 5th grade. And I am told that he is a great skier, an outdoorsman, and has a tremendous sense of humor. And he has been greatly looking forward to this day with the Senate. So I would ask that we extend to him the warm invitation of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Would Master Jack Vogel please rise? Jack, you're growing up into a young man, and you're so handsome. We appreciate you being with us today and keeping an eye on your mother as she does her work. And I hope things are going well for you in the 5th grade. And just so you know, we had this PAGE program here, and so just in a couple years, we want you applying, and we want to see you here on the floor of the Senate, and we'll get you into action. So thanks for being here, and keep up your great work in school, and we wish you the best. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Master Jack Vogel the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Western Fairfax County, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, I am pleased to introduce representatives of the Virginia Golf Course Superintendents Association, Mark Coate, Scott Malden, Pete Stevens, David Norman, and Tyler Eastham are with us today in the gallery. And I think they chose me to introduce them because the recovery and resale of my golf balls is a major source of revenue for this $2.5 billion industry that employs over 30,000 Virginians. The association members are environmental stewards who work with state agencies and who follow best management practices and conserve water. They also monitor water quality, maintain nutrient management plans, and seek to protect pollinators. I think that's a big word, but I think that means bees. And so, Mr. President, I would also like to say that the senior senator from Virginia Beach belongs to a golf club, I think Bayville, where I was introduced to as the poster child for responsible nutrient management here in the Commonwealth. And they took me for a tour. It was fantastic. These folks are doing a great job. And, Mr. President, I'd ask that you give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank you, Senators. Will members from the Virginia Golf Course Superintendents please rise? So thank you all for joining us today, and thanks for what you provide across the Commonwealth with just some great golf courses. It's great for people's quality of life. It's also great for tourism, as you know, in the Commonwealth, which is a large part of our economy. So we appreciate all that you do across the Commonwealth, and thanks so much for being with us today. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering members from the Virginia Golf Course Superintendents the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Today in the gallery, we have recipients of the Century Forest Program. In 2016, we passed legislation that created the nation's first ever Century Forest Program. To earn the Century Forest designation, the property must be owned by the same family for at least 100 consecutive years. Included at least 20 contiguous acres of managed forest, be lived on or actively managed by the descendant of the original owners, and have a history of timber harvest or forest management activities. Join us in the gallery today are the first recipients, Theda and Larry Gilmore, Patricia and John Hale, Lunda and Clay Jones, Lunda and Scott McDonald, A. Coquette Shackelford, and Pat Shell Calkins, and Ann Cabell Baskerville representing the Shell family farm, as well as the secretary and others involved in the legislation. I ask you to give them a warm welcome.
Thank you, Senator. Would members from the Century Forest Program please rise? Thank you all so much for visiting us this afternoon, and I appreciate your patience. And after we get through some introductions, we'll show you how some policy is made in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So appreciate what you do for the protection of our forests as well across Virginia. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering members from the Century Forest Program the warm welcome of the Senate. The Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of several introductions.
The Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the gallery today, I would like to direct your attention to two very distinguished guests in the gallery today from Chesterfield. They are both retiring constitutional officers. I'm very pleased to welcome the Honorable Richard Cordell and the Honorable Joe Horrible to the Senate gallery today. I and the rest of the Chesterfield delegation, including Senators Sturtevant, you can take credit too if you want, Senators Dance, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know these gentlemen during their long service to our community, and I just can't highlight enough their integrity, their character. I've never seen so many people go into an office so upset and unhappy and come out with a big smile on their face because they just do such a wonderful job. And their commitment to excellence is just inspiring. They are true public servants who are very respected. The Honorable Richard Cordell has actually served as Chesterfield's treasurer for 28 years, strengthening Chesterfield County's financial standing. But he was known for connecting with Chesterfield residents on a personal level. He cultivated trust among members of the public through his efficient and innovative management. We are grateful for his service, his dedicated service to Chesterfield, and we wish him well in his retirement. Joe Horrible has served as Commissioner of the Revenue since 2003, and he has served Chesterfield for the past 36 years. His record is one of consistency and fairness, and it's no surprise, Mr. President, that he was recognized by the University of Virginia Center for Public Service for his outstanding professional achievements as a constitutional officer of Chesterfield County. We're grateful for his dedicated service to Chesterfield, and we wish him well as well in his retirement.
Thank you, Senator. Would the Honorable Richard Cordell and Joe Horrible please rise? And your guests as well. Thank you all for being with us today. And just as the good senator from Chesterfield said, thank you all so much for your service. There are good days and days that aren't so good but in serving the public, but it's such an important a job that both of you had, and it sounds like you did it just very well. So we appreciate your service. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Richard Cordell and Joe Horrible the warm welcome of the Senate. The Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I'm a product of the Civil Rights Movement, first woman to be president of the Portsmouth branch NAACP. But it was because I had an excellent mentor and a true drum major for justice in the person of Jack Gravely. On January 12, this body passed Senate Resolution 100 in memory of Jack Gravely and was co-sponsored by Senator Rosalind Dance. Today, we're joined by his family and friends in the Senate gallery. Mr. President, Jack Gravely was born in Pocahontas, Virginia, and on February 6, 1944. He earned a degree in history and government from Fayetteville State University in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and received a law degree from the University of Virginia School of Law. Between earning these 2 degrees, he fought for our country in Vietnam. Jack Gravely was appointed the first director of diversity at the Federal Communications Commission, led by Virginia State Conference NAACP twice, and hosted the Jack Gravely Show on Richmond's Rejoice 990 WREJ AM. His commentary appeared regularly in local and national newspapers, and he was a sought-after speaker, delivering over 600 speeches across the country. Throughout his life, Mr. Gravely held many positions, but one of his most important was that of a sculptor. With a sculptor's precision, he examined society's imperfections and envisioned a way to make it better. Then he went to work. Scripture tells us, my dear brothers and sisters, remain strong in the faith. Don't let anything move you. Always give yourselves completely to the work of the Lord. Because you belong to the Lord, you know that your work is not worthless. Mr. Gravely knew this well and lived the truth of these words in his life and work. And like a sculptor, Mr. Gravely made a beautiful mark and left a lasting legacy. Now he has given us his tools so that we may continue his work. Mr. Gravely's example of faithfulness, demonstration of dignity, and grace will forever inspire the lives of all of those who he touched, especially his children and family. Mr. President and members of the Senate, I ask that you would extend to the Gravely family, his wife, and other members of his family, and I'm sure the members of the NAACP president as well, the very warm welcome of the Senate on behalf of the senator from Petersburg and myself, and I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Would the family and friends of Mr. Jack Gravely please rise? Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. Wow, what a great group you have, and so many lives that have been touched by Mr. Gravely. So we certainly appreciate that, and thanks for helping us share all his work. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering the friends and family of Mr. Jack Gravely the warm welcome of the Senate. Is there any other business for the morning hour? Certainly there perhaps are some guests that have joined us in the gallery that I haven't recognized, but we certainly welcome you this afternoon and hope you all have a great stay in Mr. Jefferson's capital. The Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully ask that the Senate now stand in recess until 1:15, and the Senate Republicans are invited to their normal prayer meeting room.
Thank you, Senator. The Senate will stand in recess until 1:15. The Senate will come to order. The clerk will please call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Thursday, February 16, 2017, page 4. Unfinished business House. House Bill 1874. The House acceded to a request for a committee of conference and conferees on the part of the Senate as named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Norman, Peake, and Peterson. Unfinished business Senate. Senate Bill 1251 has passed the House with a substitute.
The Senator from Southern Fairfax County, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, could that bill go by for the day, please?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1251 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 872 has passed the House with amendment.
The Senator from Russell County, Senator Chafin.
Senator Chase.
It's Chase.
I apologize. The Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase. False alarm there, Senator.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? And Senator, if you could just give us a brief explanation of that, that would be great.
Okay. This bill has to do with relating to absentee voting, and the amendment is basically matching it to the House version, which, if I remember correctly, also includes exemptions for folks over 65, the military, and folks with disabilities.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 919 has passed the House with amendments.
The Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, this is the blight bill we had. The House made a word change that's almost identical to what we did in the Senate. The language is a little different, but I think it's fine. And with that, I recommend that the Senate concur in the House amendments.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 950 has passed the House with amendment.
The Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendment, which changes the enactment date from June 30th to July 1st.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 1104 has passed the House with amendments.
The Senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Surville.
Mr. President, the House amendments are purely technical. I'd move that we accept them.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 1173 has passed the House with amendment.
Senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move that we concur with the House amendment. What the House did was this is a vested rights bill, and the House made an amendment to address some of the concerns that local government had. So if you were listening to local governments, Fairfax in particular, you're going to like this amendment. And I think it's a reasonable middle-of-the-road approach that makes sense so that somebody can't, that local government can't lose one of these vested rights cases on the basis of uncorroborated testimony about what a local official told them if that local official is no longer available.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 1230 has passed the House with amendments.
The senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendments. And speaking to those
The
amendments,
senator has the floor.
this is really just a little bit of technical changes to clean up about some electronic prescribing kinds of mechanisms. It doesn't change the substance of the bill at all.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 1254 has passed the House with a substitute with amendment.
The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move we concur with the House amendment. What the House did to this outstanding bill, which relates to annual audits of ballot scanners, gives local governments a little bit more time to prepare to start these audits. It doesn't become effective until July 1 of 2018 under this amendment. So with that, I renew my motion to concur.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute and amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 1299 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate accept the substitute and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. The House simply conformed my bill to the bill that was introduced on the House side. Mine had omitted a code section reference, so I would ask the body to please accept the substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 14.
Ayes 26, noes 14. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1403 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with the House substitute. This is the bill regarding rescheduling cannabidiol oil if the FDA decides to remove it from a Schedule I substance. And what they did was something we'd actually been working on in the Senate here, and that was to change the actual process for any drug that was rescheduled by the FDA and improve that process statewide. So I urge you to approve the substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1455 has passed the House with amendments.
The senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendments. And speaking briefly to that, this is a bill that passed out of here narrowly, and it basically criminalizes the payment of individuals to register to vote, which is a precursor to unlawful voting. What they have done in the House is they have reduced the penalty from felony to misdemeanor in view of the budgetary situation that we face. And I think it's one of those things. I prefer that we didn't do it, but I understand the necessity. And so I ask that you concur with the House amendments.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 1487 has passed the House with amendments.
The senator from Accomack County, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, Senate Bill 1487 dealt with the automatic suspension of constitutional officers upon conviction of a felony. The House amendments make that applicable to all public officials, and the House also added an emergency clause. I would ask that we adopt the House amendments.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 1533 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that we concur with the House substitute. Uncharacteristically, I stand here espousing the wisdom of the House in this regard. They have narrowed the application of this bill, have allowed hunters who happen to be convicted of a nonviolent felony to use a smaller subset of muzzle-loading black powder rifles than had been allowed under the version that passed out of here, 40-0. So if you liked it as it left here, you'll like it even more now that the House has narrowed its application and has limited the number of muzzle-loading black powder rifles that folks can use to chase white-tailed deer.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1553 has passed the House with amendments.
The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It would be my recommendation that we reject the House amendments.
Thank you, Senator. Could you speak to that just briefly?
Absolutely. The bill as it went over to the House had term limits for the different authorities of the city of Chesapeake. And that was by unanimous vote of the city council, who does all of the appointing. The House started monkeying with the bill and ended up having 3 terms instead of 2, which would make it 12 years, and I just think that's too long.
All right. Thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 2, noes 37.
Ayes 2, noes 37. The Senate does not concur with the House amendment.
Senate Joint Resolution 284 has been agreed to by the House with a substitute.
The senator from Stafford, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would, with a recommendation that the substitute be rejected, I'd move that the substitute be adopted. Speaking to that,
Senator has the floor.
This is the real property tax exemption for surviving spouses of veterans killed in action, which I think everybody in here supported going over, and I think they got confused again. So I'd like to get this in conference if we could, Mr. President. So I'd ask you reject it.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Franklin County. Thank you, Senator. Thank you. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The substitute is not agreed to.
We are awaiting House action on the remaining bills in that section. Uncontested calendar House bills on third reading.
Mr. President.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President.
I'm sorry, the senator from Roanoke.
Moving on, could we, having voted on the prevailing side by which we adopted the House amendment on Senate Bill 872, I ask that that be reconsidered.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the amendments were concurred with on Senate Bill 872 be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I move to accept the House amendment and ask the bill pass.
That's fine. Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Mr. President,
the senator from
having voted on the prevailing side by which we adopted the House amendment substitute to Senate Bill 1299 on page 8, I move that we reconsider that vote.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the Senate concurred with the House substitute on Senate Bill 1299 be reconsidered? All in favor of the... Senator, you voted no, so we're going to need someone else. The senator.
I apologize, Mr. President.
The senator from Fairfax City.
Having voted on the prevailing side by which we accepted the amendments to Senate Bill 1299 on page 8, I move we reconsider that vote.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the Senate concurred with the House substitute be reconsidered on Senate Bill 1299? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, I would like to move that we accept the House substitute. It conformed my bill to Delegate Gilbert's bill, and mine had omitted a code section reference. And with that, I ask that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 14.
Ayes 26, noes 14. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Once again, uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that all the House bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all House bills on pages 13 through 38, including House Bill 1922 through House Bill 2471, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who desires to remove a House bill from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 13 through 38, House Bill 1922 through House Bill 2471, be placed upon their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will please read the number of the bills.
House Bill 1922. The committee amendment has been adopted by the Senate, and there is a floor amendment.
The senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, can this come out of the block? House Bill 1922.
Without objection, House Bill 1922 will come out of the block temporarily.
House Bill 1525, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice, and there are two floor substitutes.
Mr. President.
The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Can 1525 come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 1525 will come out of the block.
House Bill 1851, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Can that come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 1851 will come out of the block.
House Bill 1855, reported.
Mr. President.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
1855 come out of the block.
Without objection, House Bill 1855 will come out of the block.
House Bill 1475, reported for the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1532, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
The senator from Prince William County.
Mr. President, can House Bill 1532 come out of the block and by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 1532 will come out of the block and by for the day.
House Bill 1537, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1539, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1540, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1542, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Mr. President, I move adoption of the committee substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1547, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1556, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1571, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 1628, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1650, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1659, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 1671, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 1693, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Mr. President.
The senator from Rockingham.
Can 1693 come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 1693 will come out of the block.
House Bill 1712, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1719, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 1720, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1738, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1754, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 1812, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 1835, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with amendment.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1858, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1869, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1909, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1943, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1952, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1965, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1968, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1969, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1998, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
The senator from Mecklenburg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
The question is, should the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 2006, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
The senator from Mecklenburg.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. This substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2033, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2034, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
The senator from Mecklenburg. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to. The senator from Hanover.
Mr. President, can House Bill 2034 come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 2034 will come out of the block.
House Bill 2037,
Mr.
reported.
President,
The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
can House Bill 2037 come out of the block and go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 2037 will come out of the block and by for the day.
House Bill 2045, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2053, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
Mr. President.
The senator from Fairfax City.
Could House Bill 2053 come out of the block, please?
Without objection, House Bill 2053 will come out of the block.
House Bill 2090, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2096, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2102, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2105, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2106, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2107, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2111, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2143, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2146, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2177, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2203, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2206, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2217, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Mr. President, I move that the amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 2219, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2230, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2244, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendment.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
Mr. President.
The senator from Rockingham.
Can 2230 come out of the block on page 31?
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, 2230 will come out of the block.
House Bill 2248, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2274, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2278, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2281, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendment.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 2285, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2291, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor, and there is a floor amendment.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment be agreed to.
Mr. President.
The senator from Fairfax City.
Could that bill come out of the block before the adoption of the floor amendment?
Thank you, Senator. This is House Bill 2291. Without objection, will come out of the block.
House Bill 2318, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with amendment.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 2319, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2332, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2347, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2358, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2374, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2391, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2396, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2422, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2425, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2427, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2428, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2455, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2471, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
The Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The question is, shall the House bills pass in block? That is, all bills except for House Bill 1922, 1525, 1851, 1855, 1532, 1693, 2034, 2037, 2053, 2230, and 2291.
Mr. President?
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteffe.
Can House Bill 2281 be pulled from the block?
Without objection, House Bill 2281 will come out of the block. All in favor of the motion to pass the bills in block will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The bills in the block pass. Returning to page 13 of the calendar.
Mr. President.
The senator from Hanover.
Mr. President, I'd move at this point that House Bill 1855 on page 14, House Bill 1851 on page 14, House Bill 1525 on page 13, House Bill 1693 on page 18, House Bill 2034 on page 25, and House Bill 2230 on page 31 be re-referred to the Committee on Courts of Justice for a more in-depth conversation with the patrons.
Yes, thank you, Senator. The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I have conferred with the senator from Hanover, and the Courts Committee is more than happy to take another look at these pieces of legislation.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. President?
Yes, the senator from Hanover.
I missed one number in my recitation, 2281 on page 33.
Senator, what page was that on?
33.
Thank you, Senator.
President, we'd be happy to look at that one, too.
Oh, we're going to be looking at a lot, Senator. The question is, shall House Bills 1525, 1851, 1855, 1693, 2034, 2230, and 2281 be re-referred to the Courts of Justice? All in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are re-referred to the Courts of Justice.
Mr. President.
The senator from...
Having voted on the prevailing side in which we passed that block of House bills, one of our members was unable to, he was pressing the button, it didn't go. Ask we reconsider that vote.
All right, Senator. Let me do a little house cleaning here, and then I'll make a motion on that. The question is, shall the vote by which the bills in the block were passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to. The question is, shall the House bills pass in block? And bear with me, all bills except for House Bill 1922, 1525, 1851, 1855, 1532, 1693, 2034, 2037, 2053, 2230, 2281, and 2291. Shall those bills pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bills in the block pass. Returning to page 13, House Bill 1922, the senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move to reconsider the vote which we adopted the committee amendment to House Bill 1922.
Thank you, Senator. Shall the vote by which the amendment was adopted be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Prince William.
With the recommendation that the committee amendments be rejected, I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that the committee amendments be rejected, the question is, shall they be concurred with? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Thank you. The noes have it. The amendments are rejected. The senator from Prince William County.
Mr. President, I move to waive the reading of the floor amendment on House Bill 1922.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? The floor substitute, rather. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. The senator from Prince William.
Mr. President, I move that the floor substitute be agreed to. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
What this does is conforms bills we agreed to with Delegate Bell in committee on the House side. So now both the Senate version of this bill and Delegate Bell's bill now conform. And with that, Mr. President, I move the acceptance of the substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is agreed to. The senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the bill and the passage of the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is we've heard this bill come out of the committee before. It basically has to do with the substitute with regard to exploitation of adults. It sets the limits to the amounts and monies. And Mr. President, as the senator from Prince William County State is now in the proper order between the two bodies, has the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1922 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The bill passes. Moving forward to page 26.
Mr. President,
the senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
having voted on the prevailing side of House Bill 1922, I ask that we reconsider that vote.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 1922 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the bill pass, as previously explained.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1922 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bill passes. On page 26, House Bill 2053, the senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. What House Bill 2053 does is establish some direct primary care agreements. This is not an insurance, but this is an agreement between a physician and patients to provide services. The services have to be clearly delineated. There would be a fee for that service, and anything performed outside of the agreed-upon services would come at an extra cost. And with that explanation, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2053 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 39, noes 0, Rule 36-1. The bill passes. On page 34, House Bill 2291. The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe there are floor amendments that have been distributed.
Yes, Senator.
Mr. President, I would waive the reading of the floor amendments.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Thank you, Mr. President. And while I explain the bill, then the floor amendments will come into vogue here. The bill provides for rate adjustment clauses for upgrades to extend the life of our existing nuclear plants as part of a relicensing, to significantly extend the life of of our 4 existing nuclear power plants. What the floor amendments do is make it clear that none of these costs in terms of a rate adjustment clause for this life extension, you could read the list of parts as part of the floor amendment, will occur prior to January 1st, 2020. And it also makes it clear that the normal maintenance and things associated with the upkeep of the existing nuclear power plants will not be included as part of that rate adjustment clause. And so with that explanation, I move we adopt the floor amendments.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Fairfax City.
Gentleman, yield for a question about the floor amendment.
Would the senator yield for a question?
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
I would ask the gentleman, the work that he described that's going to take place on these 2 nuclear plants in Surrey and North Anna, when will that work actually begin?
The senior senator.
My explanation would be this. I don't believe the work would occur until after 2020, but the certainty of having a rate adjustment clause will allow all the prior planning and engineering that goes into a significant application to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in order for these improvements to be put in a timely manner. That action needs to start right now.
The senator from Fairfax City. Will the senator yield for an additional question?
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
Will the design and engineering that goes into the application, will that be put into these rate adjustment clauses that will occur after 2020?
The senior senator.
It is my belief, not if we adopt the text that's in here, because it makes it quite clear that any costs cannot be incurred until after January 1st, 2020. And so whatever work goes into getting these applications ready to go in to complete the engineering would not be applicable as I read the floor amendments.
Further question, Mr. Chair.
The senator yield for additional question.
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
After 2020, will these costs then be put on as a rate adjustment clause to the customers, or will they be folded into the base rates?
The senior senator.
As it's written right now, what will happen is that as they conclude what it is they need to do, how much the estimated cost would be, they would then put an application into the State Corporation Commission, who would then fine-tooth comb that to determine whether those costs are part of the upgrade to extend the life of the nuclear power plants. And that would be the explanation.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. The question is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is agreed to. The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the senator from Fairfax City
speak to the bill?
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is an issue we've talked about a little bit, but considering how much is at stake, it really deserves probably a little bit more conversation. what we're doing here now, and I thank the senator for explaining his amendment, because I think the amendment takes what was a bad bill and makes it slightly less bad, is that we are adding what's called a rate adjustment clause, or a RAC, that will be put on the bill of every customer that we represent, whether they get, in this case, I guess it would be Dominion. But the bottom line is these rate adjustment clauses are added on to their bills even when we are in, quote-unquote, a rate freeze, because a rate freeze only dealt with base rates, only base rates. All other costs, including the undergrounding bill we had earlier, the nuclear bill, some of the other solar bill, the bill we dealt with the hydro earlier, all are rate adjustment clauses that go above the line, are actual cost increases. And actually, that's about 40% of the bill that your customers will receive. Now, why is this relevant? Well, because we suspended base rate review a couple years ago. And we suspended it when frankly, it was in an above-market position. The SEC even estimated that in 2016, Dominion captured $300 million in excess profits. Not ordinary profits, excess profits that ordinarily would have been returned to customers by way of a refund. Now, we're trying to basically mitigate damage here a little bit with this amendment by simply moving these racks to after 2020. But really what we need to do is go back to the system we had before, when the bill that you receive for your electricity actually match up the cost that it caused to produce it. So I'm not saying this is a terrible bill. Frankly, it's a vehicle to the governor in some cases to maybe do the right thing. I'm going to vote against it because, again, I think we're adding on additional charges to our customers when we've already, frankly, stuck them with an above-market price. And I know the rejoinder's coming saying that they get the cheapest prices in the Mid-Atlantic area. Actually, I think the costs will show that they pay the highest prices in the southeastern area. But we can quibble about that. The bottom line is we need to go back to SEC rate review to have certainty that we are getting the best price for our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator.
Mr. President, I would hope you would support this bill, and let me explain why. If we don't move ahead with these life extensions of these nuclear power plants, stand by for a real huge rate adjustment clause. Because if we don't extend the life, and I'm understanding is it'll extend the life by 40 years of these 4 existing nuclear power plants, then the rate adjustment clause is going to read something else. It's going to read, give me the money to put these, decommission all 4 nuclear reactors and the cost associated with decommissioning those nuclear reactors. And oh, by the way, give me a rate adjustment clause to build 4 new power plants, 4 new, I might add, coal or natural gas-fired power plants to replace these 4 clean nuclear power plants. And so you want a rate adjustment clause, you go on and vote against this one and look at the price tag that's going to have to come in to replace 4 nuclear reactors with 4 combined cycle plants, and then the cost to decertify and decommission 4 existing nuclear reactors. So I'd hope you'd support this bill.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, the senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
The senator from Virginia Beach, rise for a question.
Would the senior senator yield for a question?
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
With the rate adjustment you're talking about for these 4 nuclear plants, and once it is paid for, the senator who spoke about this, that will pass on to the customers. Once these rates are paid for now, and once the plants are up, and those 10 years, or whatever it is, will the rates drop back down?
The senior senator.
I can't speak with what the rates will do in the future. I will say this, that either way there's going to be a rate adjustment clause. You're talking about 12 to 1,400 megawatt generating plants.
Mr. President?
That we either extend the life of those generating plants or we decommission those, which comes at a very expensive price tag.
Mr. President?
And then we replace 4 with 4, and that rate adjustment clause would be much larger than the rate adjustment clause we're hearing. But either way, I would say to the gentleman that a rate adjustment clause does factor into the overall bill that the ratepayers pay.
Mr. President?
Senator.
The question to the senator.
Would the senator yield?
I'll yield.
He yields, Senator.
Question to Dominion Power. When they came to my office, I asked them, I said, who pays for this? And they said it would be passed on to the customer. And I said, now, so once you do this and it's passed on to the customer, I know I'm in agreement with the bill that you have to upgrade. You upgrade those 4. And now, so you said, well, in order to upgrade those 4, it can cost this amount of money for so many years, passed on to the customer. Then I asked the question, okay, that's done. Now, once it's upgrade, and if it takes 10 years to 15 years, and you tag that feed on to my bill and everybody's bill to pay for these things, Now, after 10 years or 12 years, it's up and running, it's paid for. Then will they reduce? The question was, I asked them, they didn't answer me the question. Now that it's paid for, I done paid for it out of my light bill, everybody's light bill. You got it after 10 or 12 years, it's paid for. Will they drop that fee off of my bill?
The senior senator.
I would say to the gentleman, if we're around here 40 years from now or 50 years from now, when what happens, and I'll speak to the gentleman, there will be a rate adjustment clause associated with the cost to extend the life of these 4 nuclear reactors. And then they'll take that cost and amortize it over the 40 years of the life cycle of the plant, and that will represent the dollar figure that the bill will be amortized over, spread across the entire kilowatt or the usage base across the entire Commonwealth. That's the way it is. And so while it's a big number when you look at it, it shakes out to be a relatively small number added on to the bill. Either way, you have to make up the generation of 4 1,200 megawatt plants, or nearly 5,000 megawatts of power, are going to have to be in our generation stream. And remember that Virginia is the largest importer of electricity next to California. In other words, we do not generate enough power within Virginia to supply Virginia. We have to buy a significant amount, 25% of our power, off the grid, power that's generated in other states and other locations. To the extent that we can control our rates, we can control our rates for that's generated within the boundaries of Virginia. So by extending, by ensuring that we keep this generation capability in Virginia, that'll at least give the State Corporation Commission more control over the rates over the long term. And so with that explanation, I renew that motion to pass the bill, Mr.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Fairfax City.
Desires, I'd like to speak twice briefly.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank my colleague, the senior senator from Virginia Beach. He knows his stuff. And engineering-wise, he's exactly right. We need to have these assets in order to have sufficient generation in this state. I don't think anybody's doubting it. My issue is that we have one arm tied behind our back in terms of protecting our own constituents. Ever since we did the base rate freeze, we cannot get a cost-efficient price to our constituents. That's the issue. It's not whether or not nuclear is good or bad. It's not whether or not we have sufficient generation. We need sufficient generation. Quite frankly, a combined cycle plant's probably cheaper to construct than a nuclear plant. But at the end of the day, we need to have the SCC determine these issues, not those of us that are sitting in this body. And so, again, I renew my opposition to this bill until the utilities come to the table and bring back rate review.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2291 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The bill passes.
Regular calendar House bills on third reading. House Bill 1394, a bill relating to the status of a franchisee and its employees as employees of the franchisor. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of the committee substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. The senior senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. What House Bill 1394 does is make it clear that the employees of a franchisee will not be considered the employees of the franchisor. In other words, the parent company that's the franchisor, the employees that work for the franchisee cannot be considered employers also of the franchisor. That's what the bill does, and I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Surville.
Will the gentleman, the senior senator from Virginia Beach, yield for a quick question?
Would the senior senator yield?
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
My recollection is that we passed a similar bill last year and it was vetoed by the governor. I haven't had a chance to compare this. Is this in any way substantively different than the bill the governor vetoed last year?
The senior senator.
I'd respond to Mr. President, no, it's not.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank the gentleman.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, this bill is probably as much needed as a bill that would say that in order for elephants to fly, they would need to get a permit from DMV. I asked the sponsor of this bill twice, does he know of anywhere in America where this situation has arisen. Anywhere, any company, any place in this country. Twice I asked him. He said he didn't know of any. And I asked him, well, if you can't, as a sponsor, tell me anywhere in America where this has ever occurred, and as some of you may know, I had a career in a business which you dealt with, you had a franchise or franchisee relationship. There was never any doubt as to whose employee was who. If I was paying them, they were mine. If the oil company was paying them, they were theirs. Okay? No dispute anywhere. All right? Like I said, you may as well put in a bill saying that elephants need a permit to fly here in Virginia. Okay? I don't know how many trees had to give up their lives for this bill, but if one did, it was one too many, because this bill definitely is not needed, and the governor, to prevent the paper drain from going any further, ought to veto it.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1394 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 19.
Ayes 20, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 1450, a bill relating to pharmacy freedom of choice, pharmacies intermediary, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1450 pass, and speaking of that motion.
Senator has the floor.
What House Bill 1450 does is provide that a pharmacy has provided notice through an intermediary of its agreement to accept reimbursements at rates applicable to the preferred providers. The insurant or its intermediary may elect to respond directly to the pharmacy instead of the intermediary. A trick word, Mr. President, but I got it out finally. So with that explanation, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1450 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The bill passes.
House Bill 1463, a bill relating to publication of delinquent taxes by treasurers, reported from the Committee on Finance.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, the calendar will reflect that I actually voted against this bill, but there was a lot of support for it in the committee, so I'll present it in an unbiased way. It will allow local treasurers to publish lists, either in newspaper or on the internet, from delinquent taxpayers for delinquent real property and other personal property lists that they're required to put together within 60 days of the end of the fiscal year. The difference with this one, the local treasurers requested that the treasurers on their own initiative would be able to publish the lists without approval from the local governing body. So that is the bill, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1463 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 5.
Ayes 34, noes 5. The bill passes.
House Bill 1471, a bill relating to credits allowed for reinsurance, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1471 deals with reinsurance credits that authorizes the State Corporation Commission to adopt regulations specifying the types, additional requirements, setting forth the valuation of assets or reserve credits, the amount and forms of those securities, and what they will take and what they will be, and also allow for circumstances pursuant to which that credit and valuation may be reduced or eliminated. This measure is to keep in compliance with the credit for reinsurance model law that's been adopted by the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. And with that explanation, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1471 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The bill passes.
House Bill 1554, a bill relating to the Property Owners Association Act, Amendment of Declaration. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
The bill provides that except as otherwise provided in a declaration of Property Owners Association, a declaration may be amended by a 2/3 vote of the owners.
Mr. President.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't mean to interrupt my friend there, but can HB 1554 go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 1554 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1596, a bill relating to the Virginia Public Procurement Act, Public Works Contracts, Prohibited Terms. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of the bill and speaking to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
This bill prohibits state agencies from requiring bidders or contractors or subcontractors to pay wages employed of those employed to perform at a rate that is based on wages prevailing in the corresponding classes of workers. The corresponding prohibition is made applicable to state agencies providing grants for public work projects unless otherwise required under federal law. The measure further states that it is the policy of the Commonwealth not to require any program that requires a public works contract that requires the payment of wages based on the prevailing wage.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike,
rising to speak against the bill.
The senator has the floor.
We addressed similar legislation like this last year, and I think I highlighted some important points of investment that this body has approved year over year in terms of millions of dollars in investment in our CTE program, our apprenticeship program, our dual enrollment program, our high school redesign, all pointing to opportunities for our youth in the workforce. This really limits our ability to partner and partner in meaningful ways. We're actually putting our public dollars into the things we're investing in on the left hand to the right hand. We really have to start thinking about how we coordinate these efforts. This bill, frankly, is a bill that enables folks who run up and down the East Coast. I've been in construction for 20 years, and you got a lot of folks from Southeast United States who run up and down the East Coast and low bid and win out Virginia contractor jobs. This is a bad bill, and I encourage the members to vote against it.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, speaking of the bill.
The senator has the floor.
You know what? We talk about being parsimonious and trying to stretch government dollars and balance our budget. And in one effort to do that, we privatize a number of government functions. I mean, it used to be that we'd have government workers building government buildings. We'd have government workers building bridges and roads. But we privatize because presumably the private sector can build roads better than the government can build roads. And they might be able to even do it a little bit less expensively. But when we put in our solicitations for proposal, you've got to treat these folks just like they're government workers and do all the stupid things that government does in the administration of contracts, then we wind up spending a lot more than government does and acting a lot less efficiently. If we're going to privatize, if we're going to enter contracts with the private sector, why don't we just let the private sector be the private sector and hire people who want to work for them rather than tell them that they can't hire people who want to work for a little bit less than government's going to pay.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Would the senator from Rockingham yield for a question or two?
Would the senator yield for a couple questions?
Oh, I'd be delighted.
He yields, Senator.
I'll bet you would. Has the good senator from Rockingham ever heard of an item called the Davis-Bacon Act?
The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, as a matter of fact, I have heard of the Davis-Bacon Act, and I'm aware of what the Davis-Bacon Act was. It was a pretty reprehensible piece of legislation that was adopted in the early part of the last century in order to prevent companies from hiring black workers from the South who wanted to work. It was the worst of the worst kinds of legislation that was motivated by terrible, terrible policy.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Fairfax.
Would the senator from Rockingham mind telling the other 38 exactly what that Davis-Bacon Act says?
Mr. President,
From Rockingham.
I'll be happy to. The Davis-Bacon Act winds up telling people who are in different areas of the state, different areas of the country, what the prevailing wages are, quote unquote, for those areas of the state. I live in an area of Virginia, or an area of the country, and I live in an area of Virginia where I can tell you that pipe fitters and plumbers can be hired for less than the $80 per hour that the federal government says is the prevailing wage rate for those workers in that area of Virginia. It's an outrageous effort by the federal government to manage our economy and tell the private sector what they ought to be paying to their employees.
Senior Senator.
I'll speak to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Let me tell you about this outrageous labor wage that you just heard. The project at 495, 395, and 95 was done without a project labor agreement. It was supposed to be about $530, $540 million. Okay? It was over $800 million, and several workers were killed. All right? 500 and some million, I think, was what it was supposed to be done for, and they overran it by 280, 290. It was pretty high. The hot lanes on the Beltway were done with the project labor agreement. Ahead of schedule and under budget. And nobody got killed. When we had a bill a few years ago that said that you couldn't use a project labor agreement, one of the senior executives who built the Metro said, quote, from what I was told, ask those geniuses down in Richmond who voted for this where I'm supposed to find 450 electricians. He had a good point, Mr. President. The fact is, you can't, and they know it. And this bill is simply a poke in the eye at organized labor. If that's what you want to do, fine. But let's call it for what it is. It isn't saving Virginia one darn penny. Not one darn penny. More than likely, what it's ensuring is that some contract somewhere is going to be run out of sight. And by the way, our P3s are almost all on projects that have federal dollars. This bill is absolutely worthless. Let me repeat that. This bill is absolutely worthless. Virtually all of our P3 projects are projects that involve federal money. Senator from Rockingham knows it, okay? And there's no way that you're going to get out of this thing. And quite frankly, this bill is one guaranteed to run the price of these projects sky high.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Western Fairfax County, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise to speak against the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. When I was running Fairfax County's juvenile detention center, they decided to do a big jail expansion right next door. And the company low bid the project and then flew all their workers in from South Carolina to pay them less than the prevailing wages in our area to get the job done. The whole basis of the contract was one that was the money that they made was based on change orders. If you moved where were you going to put a nail by 6 inches, you got a bill for it. Paying prevailing wages in an area can be a very good thing. Not always, but I think very often it can be the right thing to do for our citizens, for our projects, to get them done right. And this bill is definitely not needed.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1596 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 1656, a bill relating to health insurance, proton radiation therapy, standard of clinical evidence for benefit coverage decisions. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor, and there is a floor amendment.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that House Bill 1656 pass. First, I would move the waiving of the floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. The senior senator.
And Mr. President, what the floor amendment does is provide an emergency clause. What the underlying bill does is ensures that no health insurance policy or plan may hold proton radiation therapy to a higher standard of clinical evidence than they do with other forms of radiation therapy treatment. And with that explanation, I move the floor amendment be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is agreed to. The senior senator.
And now, Mr. President, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1656 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1766, a bill relating to State Corporation Commission approval of utility facilities. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor, and there is a floor amendment.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass, and then I yield the floor to my seatmate.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Stafford, Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, before we go to passing it, I would move that we waive reading of the floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. The senator from Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would move that the floor amendment be adopted. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill, the underlying bill, is designed to assist with some projects in Southwest Virginia, and the floor amendment that I've offered just cuts out the area that I represent in Planning District 8. And with that, I'd ask that the floor amendment be adopted.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The noes have it.
8 hands.
Seeing at least 8 hands, there will be a recorded vote. The question is on the floor, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 13.
Ayes 26, noes 13. The floor amendment is agreed to. The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Thank you, Mr. President. And what the underlying bill does is provide that the State Corporation Commission issues a certificate of public conveyance for the necessity for the construction of electrical transmission lines of 138 kilovolts and any associated facilities shall be deemed to satisfy the local comprehensive plan. I think with that amendment we just adopted, it ensures that areas outside of there doubly make sure, since those areas don't have 138 kVA lines, ensures that this bill only applies to a specific area and those areas that do have 138 kVA transmission. With that explanation, I renew my motion to bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question
Mr.
is
President.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Speak to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you do recall, members of the Senate, this is a bill that I had. And this is a bill you might find in your email box. A bunch of people from Prince William County think it's some evil bill that's going to come to their area and cause massive problems. And let me remind the members of the body that it won't. That Dominion is not in our area, does not use 138 kV lines. That once again, this was done one time because we were trying to actually have the localities be involved in the approval of transmission lines and transfer stations so that we could build our industrial parks in a more quick manner so we would not lose prospects to North Carolina, because it was taking 11 to 14 months in the State Corporation Commission to get these approved. That's it. For those in Prince William County that think that there's a boogeyman in this bill, this is not your bill. For those in Prince William County who want to seek higher office, who want to use this to beat up a company like Dominion, this is not your bill. This is a bill for Southern Virginia, not Dominion. Now let us have our way and be gone. I am tired. I am sick and tired of people in Northern Virginia trying to come down in our backyard and push us around. This is not your bill. This is a Southern and South Side and Southwest Virginia bill, Mr. President. And I'd like to keep it that way. Dominion's not going to come around and change this bill. It's the wrong code section, Mr. President. Nothing like this is ever going to happen. For us to now have to put the voodoo doll in the middle of Delegate Habib's bill to make sure that this voodoo magic doesn't come to Prince William County, it's not going to happen. Madam Clerk has a proper voodoo doll that can keep that from happening. So even, Mr. President, the amendment that's been put on it is, as we say down here where we live, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen, pass this bill. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no boogeyman. And for those people that I know that represent a little bit of Prince William County, and I see them throw a couple reds up there, the voodoo doll isn't going to help you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, that was good. However, having voted on the prevailing side by which we adopted the amendment, I would move that we reconsider that vote.
All right. Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the amendment, the floor amendment was adopted, be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their vote, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The question on the floor is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? And I'm going to ask for a recorded vote. All those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. The amendment, the floor amendment, is agreed to. The senator the senior senator from Virginia Beach.
And, Mr. President, I renew that motion one more time that the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1766 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. The bill passes.
House Bill 1790, a bill relating to the Administrative Process Act Development and Periodic Review of Regulations report, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
This bill requires agencies to develop regulations in the least burdensome and intrusive manner possible, and provides guiding principles for the development of adoption and repeal of regulation. The bill also requires each agency to establish a schedule over a 10-year period for the review of all regulations for which the agency is primary responsible agent. The schedule shall provide for an annual review of at least 10% of the agency regulations by July 1st of each year. I renew my motion to pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1790 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 20.
Ayes 20, noes 20. The chair votes no. The bill does not pass.
House Bill 1825, a bill relating to limitations on reselling tickets on an internet ticketing platform.
The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side, where we failed to pass the last bill, I ask the vote be reconsidered.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 1790 failed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Mecklenburg.
Mr. President, I renew my motion to pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1790 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 1825, a bill relating to limitations on reselling tickets on an internet ticketing platform, civil penalty. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with amendment.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The senior senator.
And Mr. President, this is a very, very important South Side Virginia bill, because the senator from Franklin carried this bill because in South Side Virginia, they want a hard ticket in their hand. They want to be able to sell that ticket and give that ticket away. That's why the senator from Franklin carried the Senate version of the bill. This bill is identical to the Senate version, and I hope those people in Southside Virginia can sell their tickets, and I move that we agree to pass the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Lewis. Your light's on, is it? The question is, shall House Bill 1825 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The bill passes.
House Bill 1853, a bill relating to victims of domestic violence, etc., firearm safety or training course. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the Courts of Justice substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. This is a companion to the bill with the same title that was carried by the senator from Fauquier, providing for firearm safety training for victims of domestic violence.
Mr. President?
The senator from Alexander, Senator Eben.
Could that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 1853 will go by for the day.
House Bill 2025, a bill relating to religious freedom, marriage solemnization, participation, and beliefs. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendments.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. The senator from Mecklenburg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
This provides that no person shall be required to participate in the solemnization of any marriage or be subject to any penalty by the Commonwealth or its political subdivisions solely on the account of such person's belief, speech, or actions in accordance with a sincerely held religious belief. The bill defines a person as any religious organization supervised or controlled by a religious organization, individual employed by a religious organization while acting in the scope of his paid or volunteer employment, or a clergy member or minister. I renew my motion to pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2025 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, and are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 19.
Ayes 20, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill
Mr.
2070.
President.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Sorry, having voted on the prevailing side by which we just passed House Bill 2025, can that bill please be reconsidered?
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 2025 was passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, and are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I renew my motion to pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2025 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, and are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 2077, a bill relating to emergency services and disaster law of 2000, firearms emergency shelter, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the passage of the bill, and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
This bill eliminates the authority of any government entity to prohibit the otherwise lawful possession, carrying, transportation, sale, or transfer of firearms in any facility used as an emergency shelter during a disaster. The bill does not impact current underlying law, such as firearm prohibition from schools, college campuses, etc.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the gentleman from Mecklenburg yield for a question?
Would the senator from Mecklenburg yield for a question?
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
Is the gentleman aware that our network of emergency shelters and preparedness involve multiple public-private partners?
The senator from Mecklenburg.
Mr. President, I didn't catch some noise.
Thank you, Senator. Would the senator please repeat your question?
Mr. President, I'd ask the gentleman from Mecklenburg, is he aware that our structure, our organization of how we manage emergency services relies on partners, both public and private and nonprofit, working together?
The senator from Mecklenburg.
Mr. President, I do.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. President, follow-up question to the gentleman
the
from
senator
Mecklenburg.
yield for an additional question.
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
Mr. President, I thank the gentleman. Is the gentleman also aware that the site selection for our shelters are based on, predicated sometimes on generators, on the structural soundness of the structures, and that those structures are also sometimes our private partners, in addition to our public partners in schools and other critical sites?
The senator from Mecklenburg.
Mr. President, I would agree that is true.
Mr. President, one final question.
The senator yield for an additional question.
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
Is the gentleman aware that those who seek the utilization of emergency shelters, that those participants are voluntary when they come to a shelter for assistance? They volunteer to seek that assistance.
The senator from Mecklenburg.
Mr. President, I would say that they're probably volunteers and paid folks both.
Thank you, Senator.
To clarify, Mr. President?
Do you yield for one additional question?
I yield.
He yields, Senator.
To clarify that previous question is that those seeking utilization of the shelter, not those managing, but those seeking shelter and utilization of those shelters, they come voluntarily.
I agree.
I thank the gentleman. Mr. President, speaking to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
I'm probably one of a few folks in this body, and indeed in the General Assembly, who is a National Incident Management System incident commander. I've dealt with hurricanes, earthquakes, derechos, many other things. And when we are dealing with this as a Commonwealth, indeed as local governments, we have very limited resources. We rely on our network of public partners. For me, this is really something that should not be about a right to carry issue or anything else, simply about the infrastructure, respectfully, of our incident management structure. Post 9/11, we have a very rigid process. We rely on partners such as the Red Cross. We rely on a structure of an incident command system that relies on having a safe and secure sector, having a logistics sector, having very specific roles and responsibilities. Our entire system that we've worked on for the last 15 years post 9/11 builds on partnerships based on frameworks that our folks in police and fire have worked on and agreed upon for many, many years and has worked very well. This starts to throw a wrench in a lot of process and time that we've put into this. Further, I would say to the body that our emergency shelter sites are selected based on the structural soundness, many other things, whether they can withstand hurricanes, whether they have backup generators, what the reliability of the utilities, natural gas and others, are to these sites. They support elderly oftentimes and other things. These sites voluntarily agree, but they also agree based upon their rules. Likewise, we have a great partnership with the American Red Cross. They also wisely prohibit firearms within those shelters because they have many different folks that participate. Stresses are high in these shelters and many other things. The responsibility for safety and security in the incident command system is under the incident commander. In these instances, these type of situations across the Commonwealth are serious, and they need to be treated seriously, and they shouldn't be a political football, respectfully. And I don't think those are necessarily the intent of the patron, but I hope folks don't look upon this. This is a serious incident management structure issue, and I would urge the body to gently vote red on this one. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, speaking briefly of the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, with great respect for the senator from Prince William and some of the others who have spoken out with respect to this bill, it just doesn't do a lot of the things that it's accused of doing. I've heard people say that this is going to put guns in schools. It's going to require the Red Cross or the Salvation Army to allow people in. It just doesn't do that. And that's why we have these committee meetings. That's why we read these bills. The bill says that it only addresses the otherwise lawful possession of a firearm. So we have laws that say you can't bring a firearm into school. We have well-established trespassing laws in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we've talked a lot about private property rights. And we all know, after years of discussion, that private property owners can define what categories of people can and cannot come onto their property. If you put a sign on your door and say that you can't come into my business with a gun, you can't come into my business with a gun. And if the Red Cross is hosting one of these shelters, or the Salvation Army, or a school, it doesn't change that because it's otherwise not lawful to carry on those properties. So, I understand what the patron is trying to do. The patron is simply trying to address some of the overreach. This bill just doesn't do the kind of dramatic things that some of our friends are suggesting that it does.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate the senator from Rockingham offering those clarifications. But the Red Cross has actually come out with a statement saying that they will not staff shelters that allow guns, and they are the primary organization that will provide staffing at local government shelters. And quite frankly, the absence of Red Cross staff means that local governments would have to train and hire contractors to staff shelters. That's going to be very costly and may reduce the number of citizens that shelters can accept. And another concern is that this could jeopardize public safety during a disaster. Emergency shelters are high stress. They're low privacy environments, which heightens the potential for conflict. Confrontations with armed citizens may arise when food, water, and medical services are rationed out. Added security would be needed at shelters, which takes needed public safety personnel away from the present disaster. The presence of firearms would deter some citizens, particularly those with families, from evacuating their homes to take refuge in a shelter, which would be an unsafe decision. So I think that this is setting a very dangerous precedent, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm speaking in opposition to the bill. This is an authority governments don't need to have. And I would just say that, the Virginia Association of Police believes that this actually will be an unfunded mandate for local governments because more police will be needed in the shelters to offer that additional level of protection if people are in the shelters with firearms. And you have to remember, people in our shelters are in a very vulnerable state, a very traumatic state. They're at a low point in their lives, and they really don't want to be and should not be challenged or addressed with people who are walking around with a firearm. So for those reasons and for the reasons mentioned by my colleagues, I certainly ask that we defeat this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2077 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 2108, a bill relating to the Virginia Wireless Services Authority Act rates and charges. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with amendment.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. And speaking to that motion, first let me move the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. The senior senator from Virginia Beach.
And, Mr. President, I move the bill pass. And speaking to the bill,
the senator has the floor.
Mr. President, let me tell you, this bill is just a shadow of what it was originally put in. Right now, all the bill does is provide that the authority, and that may be a locality or locality or a jurisdiction of the state that chooses to put up broadband internet access where there may not be any available, that they will have to fix and revise rates, fees, and schedules, and the records shall be made available for inspection and copying by the public pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. But, Mr. President, I can assure you that when this bill was first put in, this was a bill to basically lock out anybody but the for-profit cable companies from providing internet service around the Commonwealth of Virginia. It was directly aimed at many of the municipal broadband internet that have gone up, and I would say to you, Mr. President, that access to broadband has become a utility throughout Virginia, and we ought to not be about anything that restricts any type of access going up to provide broadband around the state. And the bill in its original form, I believe, would have had a significant impact on the ability for localities to provide broadband to their citizens. And this is, while it's just a mere shadow of itself, I've been around here long enough to know that a mere shadow of itself will come back next year and come back the following year and come back the following year and until they get where they're trying to go. And so for that reason, although I made the motion to approve the bill, you will notice by the calendar that I did vote against it. I may be the lone voice crying in the wilderness on this section, but I just think that we as a body ought to look forward to the day where broadband internet access is available to every Virginian, regardless of where they live, and that we move forward with this and as rapid as possible. And for that reason, I voted no, but I'll renew my motion that the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2108 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 3, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 35, noes 3, Rule 36-1. The bill passes.
House Bill 2267, a bill relating to health benefit plans coverage for hormonal contraceptives. Reported from the Committee for Commerce and Labor.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I've moved that House Bill 2267 pass. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
And, Mr. President, I'd say to you that what House Bill 2267 does is require that any health benefit plan that is amended, renewed, or delivered after the 1st of January 2018, that they make available contraceptive prescriptions available for a 12-month supply. That's what the bill does, Mr. President. I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
I just wanted to take an opportunity to have a conversation with the body about this bill and similar bills. I thought this was going to come to one of the committees that I was on, and it did not, so I did not have an opportunity to participate in the committee discussion. But I want everybody to know that I believe everybody here is very concerned about the cost of health care. And we're very concerned about cost of health care in Virginia specifically. And as of 2009, Virginia had 60 mandated benefits that we as legislators have involved ourselves in the contract that insurance companies issue and mandated that those benefits be paid. That puts us in the top 3 of the states. So if we're really genuinely interested in controlling and reducing the cost of health care for everybody in Virginia, we have to stop passing feel-good bills. Wouldn't this be great? Wouldn't everybody love to not have to go to the pharmacy? All of my patients will love this bill. But this is not the right thing for Virginia, and we need to think this through a little bit more carefully as we look at these mandated benefits going forward and maybe review some of the ones that we have.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2267 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, noes 6. The bill passes.
House Bill 2303, a bill relating to small agricultural generators, sale of electric power, net metering. Reported for the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 2303 pass. And speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill is identical to a bill that we passed that I carried earlier. It deals with agricultural net metering and the ability of folks to generate a new stream of income off their farms, and that would be to generate solar electricity off their farm and actually derive a stream of income from that. And with that explanation, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2303 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 36, noes 2, Rule 36-1. The bill passes.
House Bill 2390, a bill relating to pilot programs for third-party power purchase agreements, institutions of higher education. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, could that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 2390 will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would respectfully move that all the House bills on the second reading on both the uncontested and regular calendar, which would include all House bills on pages 44 through page 67, including House Bill 1396 through House Bill 2351, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 44 through 67, House Bill 1396 through House Bill 2351 be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. The senator from James City County.
Mr. President, I would now ask that all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, House joint resolutions on second reading.
The senator from James City County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now respectfully move that all the House joint resolutions on the second reading on both the uncontested and regular calendar, which would include all resolutions on pages 68, including House Joint Resolution 562 through 693, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of the House joint resolutions on the uncontested and regular calendars on page 68, HJR 562 through HJR 693, be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The reading of the titles is waived. The senator from James City County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that all of the resolutions be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the House joint resolutions on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolution on first reading. Senate Joint Resolution 390, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated February 7, 2017.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend the rules and waive the second reading.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we advance and engross the bill to its third reading.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the resolution be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is engrossed and advanced to its third reading. The senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend the rules and waive the third reading.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the third reading be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that SJR 390 pass. And speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We moved this all the way through because these are the governor's appointments that I was carrying, and we wanted to move them off the floor today. And so with that, I would ask that the body please vote for the resolution.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall SJR 390 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The resolution is agreed to.
Memorial resolutions.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move that all the memorial resolutions on pages 69 through 72 of the calendar, including House Joint Resolution 601 through Senate Resolution 146, be agreed to in the block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolution. Any senator who desires to remove a memorial resolution from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the title of that resolution.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the memorial resolutions on pages 69 through 72, HJR 601 through SR 146, be considered in the block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions thereof, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will please read the titles of the memorial resolutions.
House Joint Resolution 601, celebrating the life of Herman J. Obermeyer. House Joint Resolution 851, celebrating the life of Eli Wiesel. House Joint Resolution 864, celebrating the life of Ann Creighton Collar Broder. House Joint Resolution 869, celebrating the life of Anthony Pearlie Tucker, Jr. House Joint Resolution 871, celebrating the life of W. Alvin Hudson, Jr. House Joint Resolution 873, celebrating the life of Mary Jones Baldwin. House Joint Resolution 875, celebrating the life of the Honorable John C. Miller.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Mr. President, could House Joint Resolution 875 be removed from the block?
Without objection, H.R. 875 will come out of the block.
House Joint Resolution 881, celebrating the life of Paul Bankett. House Joint Resolution 892, celebrating the life of Homer Constantine Elides. House Joint Resolution 893, celebrating the life of Carol Ray Hawks. House Joint Resolution 897, celebrating the life of Eugene H. Farley, Jr. House Joint Resolution 898, celebrating the life of Patricia Ann Thomas Simonon. House Joint Resolution 899, celebrating the life of Lucian E. Conan. House Joint Resolution 902, celebrating the life of Wayne F. Giesert. House Joint Resolution 905, celebrating the life of the Reverend Wong Sang Lee.
Mr. President.
The senator from Fairfax City.
Could HJR 905 come out of the block and go by for the day?
Without objection, HJR 905 will come out of the block and by for the day.
House Joint Resolution 910, celebrating the life of the Honorable Frank Medico.
The senator from Fairfax City.
HJR 910 come out of the block, please.
Without objection, HJR 910 will come out of the block.
Senate Joint Resolution 382, celebrating the life of Stephen Winston Bricker. Senate Joint Resolution 384, celebrating the life of Thomas Paul Dean. Senate Joint Resolution 391, celebrating the life of Adelaide Marie Payne Griffin. Senate Joint Resolution 396, celebrating the life of John Robert Rilling. Senate Joint Resolution 401, celebrating the life of George Stephen Velitis. Senate Joint Resolution 404, celebrating the life of the Reverend Wong Sang Lee.
The senator from Fairfax City. Without objection, SJR 404 will come out of the block and by for the day.
Senate Joint Resolution 410, celebrating the life of Earl Hamner, Jr. Senate Joint Resolution 411, celebrating the life of Carol Schumann Savage. Senate Resolution 142, celebrating the life of Sue Ella Boatwright Wells. Senate Resolution 144, celebrating the life of Richard Edward Cornwell. Senate Resolution 146, celebrating the life of Juan Dipp.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President,
The senator from Petersburg.
could HJR 892 come out of the block and by for today?
Without objection.
Page 70.
Yes. Without objection, HJR 892 will come out of the block and by for the day. The resolutions will be agreed to in the usual manner, with the exception of H.R. 892, H.J.R. 875, H.J.R. 905, H.J.R. 910, and H.J.R. 404. All those in favor of agreeing to the memorial resolutions will please rise. The resolutions are agreed to. Returning to page 70, HJR 875, Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Mr. President, I move that HJR 875 be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The resolution will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the memorial resolution will please rise. The resolution is agreed to. On page 71, HJR 910. The senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution honors the life of Frank Medico of Mount Vernon, who was a member of the House of Delegates. And he authored numerous important pieces of legislation, including bills to increase tax relief for the elderly and disabled, and to increase the number of slots available at public colleges and universities for in-state Virginians. He also, in his wisdom, authored numerous letters to the editor holding the senator from Eastern Fairfax accountable for a variety of his actions. So with that, I move the resolution passed.
Thank you, Senator. The resolution will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the memorial resolution will please rise. The resolution is agreed to.
Commending resolutions. House Joint Resolutions.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that all the commending resolutions on pages 72 through 79 of the calendar, which would include House Joint Resolution 558 through Senate Resolution 147, be agreed to in a block by a voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolution. Any senator who desires to remove a commending resolution from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of that resolution.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the commending resolutions on pages 72 through 79, HJR 558 through SR 147, be considered in the block by voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolutions, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will please read the number of the resolutions.
House Joint Resolutions 558, 559, 751, 752, 850, 853, 857, 860, 861, 862, 863, 866, 868, 870, 872, 874, 876, 877, 878, 879, 880, 883, 884, 885, 886, 887, 888, 889, 890, 891, 894, 895, 896, 900, 903, 904, 906. Senate Joint Resolutions 380, 383.
Mr. President.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteffe.
Can SJR 380 be stricken and reintroduced?
Senator, if you would like it stricken, we can do that.
That would be fine then. Thank you.
The question is, yeah.
Mr. President, if we could pull that out of the block and strike it, please.
Senator.
I think that is, I'm sorry, who's this?
Senator, can you tell me which one you would like?
Senate Joint Resolution 380.
Yes. The question is, shall SJR 380 be stricken? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is stricken.
$383, $385, $386, $387, $389, $394, $395, $397, $398, $399, $400, $402, $403, $405, $406, $407, $408, $409, $412. Senate Resolutions 140, 141, 145, 147.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The question is, shall the resolutions be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolutions will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions are agreed to. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, inquire the clerk, does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business for the Senate? The senator from Fauquier County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could we please return to the morning hour?
Absolutely, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to direct the body's attention to several people in the gallery. One is my friend and her daughter. And I know, yes, I actually have friends from home. Hard to believe, I know. It's Ali Piacevich and her daughter, Kiara. And they live in Middleburg, Virginia. And in fact, Kiara's older sister is in fact a Senate page. So they're here today to see the Senate in action. And I hope they got to hear the Boogeyman floor speech. If they didn't, maybe we can do that again tomorrow. But with that, Mr. President, I ask that you please extend to them the very warm welcome of the Senate.
I will. Thank you, Senator. Would Ali and Kiara please rise? Thank you all for being with us today. And I guess you're here to see the pages in action during their mock session. It's always exciting and entertaining, so we appreciate you coming and seeing your sister. So I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Ali and Kiara the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, in this month of celebration of African American history, I stand to recognize two women of living history who are no longer hidden figures, and two hidden figures whose lives were brought to life in the Oscar-nominated movie Hidden Figures. Katherine Johnson was born August 26, 1918, in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. By the age of 13, she was enrolled in the high school on the campus of West Virginia State College, enrolled in the college itself at 18. She graduated with highest honors with a degree in mathematics in 1937 at age 19. She took a job teaching in the public schools of Virginia. After a short time in graduate school at West Virginia University in 1953, she took a position at the all-black West Area Computing Section at the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA, Langley Laboratory in Hampton, Virginia. The lab was headed by Dorothy Vaughan. Just 2 weeks into her tenure, Dorothy assigned her to a project in the Flight Research Division. The 1957 launch of the Soviet satellite Sputnik changed history in Katherine Johnson's life. Her genius as a mathematician became legend. As NACA became NASA, she did the trajectory for Alan Shepard's May 1961 mission Freedom 7. In 1962, she was called upon to do the work that she was most known for, the trajectory for John Glenn's orbital mission. As part of the pre-flight checklist, Glenn asked engineers to, quote, get the girl, to run the same numbers through the same equations that had been programmed into the computer, but by hand, on her desktop mechanical calculating machine. Glenn said, and I quote, if she says they're good, then I'm ready to go. Glenn's flight was a success and marked a turning point in the competition between the United States and Soviet Union in space. Katherine Johnson worked on Project Apollo and the Space Shuttle before retiring after 33 years at NASA. In 2015, at age 97, she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama. She is a resident of the city of Hampton and remains in good spirits at age 98. Mary Winston Jackson was a native of Hampton, Virginia, graduating from Hampton Institute in 1942 with a degree in math and physical science. She began her career at NASA at the West Area Computing Section in 1951, reporting to Dorothy Vaughan. She was assigned by Vaughan to work in the supersonic pressure tunnel in 1953. Her engineer supervisor provided her opportunities to engage in hands-on experience, conducting experiments in the facility, and suggested she enter a training program that would allow her to be promoted from mathematician to engineer. Trainees had to take graduate-level courses in math and physics managed by UVA at the segregated Hampton High School, and she needed a special permission from the city of Hampton to take the classes. She overcame that challenge, finished the courses, earned the promotion, and in 1958 became NASA's first black female engineer, and co-authored her first report that same year. The title of the report was Effects of Nose Angle and Mach Number on Transition on Cones at Supersonic Speeds. In the 1950s, she was the only black female aeronautical engineer in the field, and for decades enjoyed a productive engineering career. However, she could never break the management glass ceiling. She retired from Langley in 1985. Mary Jackson died in 2005. Dorothy Vaughan came to NASA in 1943 during the height of World War II, leaving her teaching job in Farmville, Virginia, and was assigned to the segregated West Computing Unit. She was promoted to lead the group in 1949. When the transition was made from NACA to NASA, the West Computing Unit was abolished, and she was assigned to a new racially and gender-integrated group that would take a lead in electronic computing. She became an expert Fortran programmer and contributed to the Scout Launch Vehicle program. She sought but never received another management position at Langley. She retired from NASA in 1971. Her legacy was her promotion of West Computing alumni Mary Jackson and Katherine Johnson, and the second generation of mathematicians and engineers like Dr. Christine Darden. Dorothy Vaughan died in 2008. Finally, Dr. Christine Darden, who currently resides in Hampton, Virginia, was added to the pool of human computers in 1967. She is a graduate of Hampton Institute and has a doctorate degree in mechanical engineering from George Washington University. She served as the technical leader of NASA's Sonic Boom Group, a vehicle integration branch of the High-Speed Research Program, a role in which she was responsible for developing the Sonic Boom Research Program at NASA. During her over 40-year career at NASA, she became deputy manager of the TU-144 Experiments Program and degree in the Program Management Office of the Aerospace Performance Center, where she was responsible for Langley research in air traffic management and other aeronautics programs management at other NASA centers. As a retiree, she is a much sought-after speaker. The author of the book Hidden Figures, Margot Lee Shetterly, was also born and raised in the city of Hampton as well. If you have not read the book Hidden Figures or seen the movie Hidden Figures, I encourage you to do so. This is not Black history or a Black story. This is American history, and these figures are no longer hidden. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I'm always entertained when the senator from Franklin puts on his amusing personality and shares with us some of his articulation. I was interested today in his characterization of a boogeyman, and he is wrong. Sometimes there are boogeymen. I would say, Mr. President, in the 26 years that I've been in the Senate of Virginia, I really have not ever taken this approach, but I think sometimes unusual circumstances dictate unusual responses. I was thinking about the 26 years that I have spent in the Senate of Virginia, and I was hearkening back to what sometimes we refer to as the good old days. And perhaps sometimes the good old days were neither, but we do like to characterize them as that. I recall when I first came in 1992 that I think that there was a greater sense of collegiality, comedy, and civility that prevailed in this body, and it prevailed regardless of political affiliations or ideological affiliations, and there was much more collegiality, I believe. And I was also reflecting over the years that it has become much more frustrating, I think, for us as part-time citizen legislators to serve. The demands on our personal time, the demands on our professional times, the ideological divide that seems to have expanded can create quite a bit of frustration at times. I learned a long time ago from a fairly legendary Democratic member of the House of Delegates not to bring any bills or any ideas or concept to Richmond that I had to take home and I became invested in myself. And the reason for that is that it can be very frustrating even to the most brilliant attorneys from Northern Virginia when a majority of their colleagues reject an approach on legislation. And I suggest to you, Mr. President, that there are appropriate and there are inappropriate ways to deal with that frustration that results from the legislative process. I think one inappropriate way is to act like a petulant child who needs to go back to legislative kindergarten to learn the words of comedy, collegiality, and civility. But making criticisms publicly that are directed at the press against another member is totally unacceptable. Let me share a couple of points with you. There were some questions raised about why educational bills were going to the Senate Finance Committee. And I do appreciate, Mr. President, that some of us that are involved in the budget process perhaps are better armed with information than others, but that information is readily available to anyone that wants to make a diligent inquiry. Some of the bills that were sent to Senate Finance out of Education and Health were sent there for this reason. One approach was that it was going to cost William & Mary $693,000 and cost the University of Virginia $2.6 million. Another bill that was sent to Senate Finance was going to cost William & Mary $3.5 million. The University of Virginia $20.7 million. Another one that was sent to the Senate Finance Committee in order to try to balance out the finances would have required another 700 in-state students to be taken to William & Mary and 2,600 more students from in-state to be taken to the University of Virginia. Another approach was going to cost William & Mary $2.3 million and the University of Virginia $8.6 million. So in spite of what may have appeared to be something of a cavalier referring of these bills to the Senate Finance Committee, there was a nexus and there was a financial reason for that. I would further say, Mr. President, that there was a suggestion, not an innuendo, but a suggestion that it was inappropriate for someone who had a relationship with a college to chair finance and to be dealing with pieces of legislation that impacted the college and universities. Had someone approached me and asked me that, I would have said, I had an opinion from the Attorney General's office 8 years ago that said there was no conflict of interest. No conflict of interest. And part of the reason, Mr. President, was that there are 24 community colleges and 15 four-year colleges in this university. And as long as legislation that is impacting the institutions of higher learning as a universe, there is no conflict. I would further say, think about this for a minute. Suppose you are a retiree from a telecommunications company getting a pension. Should you be voting on legislation? Suppose you are an active member of a college that has a medical treatment facility that is pending before the General Assembly. Should you vote on that? Should you be voting on legislation if you are a doctor and there are COPNs or other health care issues pending before the General Assembly? And then let's take the large universe. Should you, as a lawyer who's voting on judges, who is voting on legislation that you may specialize in as a plaintiff's attorney, should you be voting on that? There are a lot more professions that could be carved out, but let me remind you, we are a part-time citizen legislature. And consequently, those of us that cannot live comfortably on the salary and compensation that we received from our legislative responsibilities have other careers that we have to pursue. And it is almost impossible for any of us to sit through a legislative session and not have some piece of legislation come before us that does not in some way touch or incidentally come in contact with what we do professionally or what we do personally. So I suggest to you that that is one of the inherent challenges that we have in a part-time citizen legislature. And we rely upon the personal integrity of each member of this body to determine when it is appropriate to exercise the Rule 36. But I can say that that is a matter of personal conscience, and we do not need a conscience of the body suggesting to us what may have been inappropriate in their myopic eyes. So I suggest to you, Mr. President, there were empirical financial reasons that the bills were referred to the Finance Committee dealing with higher education. There is no conflict of interest, and I suggest to you that there are many, many opportunities that come before us where we have to exercise our good judgment. And I say with Mr. President, it was not with any degree of pride that I make these comments, but I have never done something like this in 26 years, but I've never had a shot taken at me like that in the media either.
Thank you, Senator. The Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Ladies and gentlemen, speak to the measure as a point of personal privilege. Ladies and gentlemen, I was the person that's being referred to in this speech. I noted that Senator Norman, the gentleman from James City County, has a position teaching at William & Mary University, or College of William & Mary. And I noted that fact that the bills were being sent to a subcommittee that he was chairing. So I'll take the blame. I'm the petulant child. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't mind taking blame sometimes. You know, I came down here to represent the people in my district, and access to college, access to higher education, affordability, those are critical issues. And those issues didn't get a fair hearing. I'm sorry, but they didn't. You want to throw me under the bus? Throw me under the bus. Because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I got to go home and explain to people, did I fight for you or did I not? Yeah, I took some hits. You know what? I apologize. I probably said something I should have. I lost my temper. But I've also served with people that have gotten in trouble. Now, not for this, but let's not pretend this body has never been touched by investigations which have called into question our morals and our ethics, okay? Let's not pretend that everything is self-governance. At the end of the day, we have to answer for ourselves. I understand that, and I agree completely with the gentleman that we have to make a living. But I also know when you work for an employer and then you put yourself in a position of supervising that employer, that puts you in an inherently ticklish position. So I congratulate the gentleman for negotiating that. I don't know if I could. And I'll take the blame for using the words conflict of interest and speaking to the media. I'll take the blame. I'll take the hit. I don't apologize for representing my constituents. Not at all. I've tried to raise this issue. I don't feel like the issue had a fair hearing. I'll be back here next year. We'll try it again. And again, my apologies to the gentleman.
Thank you, Senator. Is there any other business to come before the senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw?
Point of personal privilege.
The senator has the floor.
Let me just inform the senator from Fairfax City. Every one of us in here is here representing our constituents. You're not the only one. And quite frankly, I've never, in all the years I've been here, run into a situation like this. But I can tell you, I'm pretty conscious, and I'm sure the other 39 of you are, on representing your constituents. And quite frankly, my constituents want to go through college in 4 years. They don't want to strap these universities so they can, wind up having to cut courses, which is what happened in 1998 when we froze tuition. And they started cutting courses, and I got calls from my constituents saying, my kid's got to go 9 semesters, where's my savings? Well, there wasn't any, all right? And the universities don't need us micromanaging them. And the senator from James City County knows this. And quite frankly, he's done a pretty darn good job of making sure that these universities are viable and functioning well. So I would just say to you or anyone else in here that no one senator has a lock or a monopoly on just representing their constituents. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The clerk will please report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Thursday, February 16th, the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in Senate Room B. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Public Education will not meet. This is a change. Education and Health Subcommittee on Public Education will not meet. The Committee on Finance will meet at 4:30 p.m. in Senate Room A. The Virginia Legislative Black Caucus will meet at 5 p.m. in the 6th floor Senate Leadership Conference Room. The Senate Page mock session will be held tonight at 5:30 in the Senate chamber, and they are recruiting members to be pages. They have a lot of work for you. Tomorrow, Friday, February 17, 2017, the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services will meet at 8:30 a.m. Senate Room B. The Republican Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session, Senate Room 2, and the Democratic Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 9:30 tomorrow.
Thank you, Senator. The motion is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 9:30 tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have the Senate stand adjourned until 9:30 tomorrow.